Hello. Welcome back. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. We're going to spend some time today talking about learning and learning handicaps, one in particular, and learning failure, and what we can do about it. So, the practical backdrop here is as we study this course, as course students, I'm a course student just as you're a course student. Well, and if you're tuning into this and you've not yet become a course student, something will still be said over the next 20 minutes or so that you're meant to hear. So I do invite you to stick around. On the spiritual path, particularly as it involves this course, we often have moments of doubt and we want to throw our hands up in frustration and tell ourselves that we can't learn this course. It's too hard. It's too weird. It's too wild. It's too far out. It's too esoteric. What do you mean I'm not a body? I'm free, for I'm still as God created me and always have been. Well, what are you talking about? I can't learn this. But we tell ourselves these things all the time when this material seems impossible to comprehend. So let's take a look over the next few minutes at why that is and what specifically we can do about it. You can do a lot about it, and it, in fact, is not hard. It is simply a choice. The beauty of all of this is the power of decision has never been taken away from us, despite our ego identification, despite our mad clinging to our ego identification, and despite all of the wars and drama and sense of lack, sense of suffering and frustration that we heap upon ourselves, we don't have to continue to choose it. Our power of choice has remained with us always, and it's with you right now. You don't have to continue to choose more of the same. Now, we could choose to say, oh, I don't have a choice. But it's a choice. You're choosing to say, I don't have a choice. If you choose not to exercise this choice and deny that you have it, that's your choice not to exercise it and run off and hide. We've all done that far too often and well, a lot of times, or we wouldn't appear like this. We wouldn't be having this conversation. So let's render this conversation completely unnecessary, shall we? That would be very good. So we have a giant, giant learning handicap. Not flattering, but it's true. It's true. We have a severe learning impairment here as we run around thinking we're an ego. This is our inability to generalize. That is a learning impediment. The inability to generalize. What does this actually mean? Well, consider the way the mind works as we see ourselves as individuals. What we have done is we have mistakenly believed that our mind is all alone. In fact, that's what the ego is the belief that the mind is completely alone. That's a mistake. But having made this mistake, we try to wall ourselves off in this device right here, the physical body, which the ego adopts as its home. And having conceived of ourselves as an ego, we automatically impute this to everyone else and give them an ego too, assuming that they must have the same thing as us. So one ego attempts to relate to another, and the result is chaos. Sometimes we fall madly in love. Sometimes we get along. Sometimes we're very happy and friendly and joyful, and we play well and play nicely together. And then someone takes our toy and we throw a fit. It is an alternation. It's a wild alternation, and it is forever unstable. One minute we're high, the next we're low. One minute we feel gleeful, and then we're deeply sad. Sometimes this happens in rapid succession, which is exhausting. It's truly exhausting. So, in this state, we have divided and subdivided. We think this is me, myself, and I. A frail thing that we refer to as the human body, which clearly doesn't last. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of shape you're in. Does it? Is this eternal? Of course not. So, we have walled ourselves off. We think everyone else is walled off, and we see them as walled off, and we see ourselves as deeply limited. And we have parsed our experience into multiple divisions and component and subcomponent parts. We draw one distinction after another, distinction, difference after another. We see nothing but differences. Everywhere we go, different nation states, different ethnic groups, different political parties, different religions, different spiritual traditions, different workplaces, yeah, different genders, and so on and so forth. Ad infinitum, or so it appears, our mind is used like a scalpel to slice and cut and make one division after another. No wonder we're confused. There is no division at all. There is only perfect oneness. We're unable to generalize, and that is a real impediment. This lack of ability to generalize is what leads us to our constant sense of frustration. And here, as students of A Course in Miracles, this is why people say, I don't get it. I can't do this. This is over my head. It's too difficult. The ideas themselves are not difficult. God is. Simple. There is no separation of any kind. Again, simple. Ideas leave not their source. Capital S. Again, simple. Yet our inability to generalize means we don't get it. And we attempt to understand it with this razor-like, scalpel-like, often highly intellectually trained, supposedly rational thinking mind. It's sure something of importance to understand these teachings intellectually, but they're not complex. We add the complications with all of our slicing and dicing, and we often find ourselves thinking it can't be that easy. Oh, yes, it can. Yes, the simplest explanation is always the best. Any scientists out there? Occam's razor, hello, right? The simplest explanation is always the best. God is. Yet we find it so difficult to accept. So, what then do we do about this? It's a critical learning failure to not be able to generalize, to see the bigger picture, as it were. This is not a big picture. The needs of this organism, yeah, meet them, feed yourself, drink some water, have a nice glass of wine if you want to. I mean, go to the bathroom, go to work. If you're making money, make money, things like that. But understand that this isn't you. You're not a body. You know this. We all know this, or we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't care. I mean, you really wouldn't give any time or attention to this course if you didn't know this deep down, which is why I often repeat this idea. It's very important for us because as we add one layer of complication after another to our lives on a daily basis, we need time like this, which is why it's so important that you're taking the time out right now. It's huge, and I hope that you get the real importance of this. Because your peace of mind benefits every living thing in ways that we are not even aware of. Yet it's huge. So, yeah, it's very important. So, another handicap for us, we don't know the meaning of love. We may think we do, but love is abstract. It's actually all there is. God is, love is. It's general, total, and completely abstract. Here in the world where we think we're an ego, we don't know what it is because we think that it's highly specific, not general. We think it's highly specific. We often try to limit it to a single relationship, a special relationship that we elevate above all other relationships. That's a division, isn't it? Nothing against those relationships. I'm very happily married. You may be as well. You may be in a loving and supportive partnership here in the world. Just give your relationship over to the Holy Spirit. That's what is recommended here. That's what I recommend you do. Yeah, let Him run everything. So here's the theme, the practicality. Faced with these obstacles to our learning, what do we do? Well, we have attempted to do it all ourselves, haven't we? We've attempted to do it all ourselves with our big fancy degrees. I have a JD, it's a freaking doctorate degree, and it's sitting over there. Some of you may have those too. I know a number of you have advanced degrees, and if you don't, it doesn't make any difference. Who cares? Right? It doesn't matter. I mean, we make it matter to ourselves here in the world, which is why I have one of those. I thought it was the best thing in the world to do at the time. And if I hadn't done it, then a number of very cool and uplifting and empowering things would never have happened. So, of course, it was part of the script, part of the plan. But we elevate this mind that slices and dices and parses into multiple component parts. And we try to learn ourselves. We try to learn by switching jobs all the time, don't we? We try to learn by exchanging one automobile for another because the other one's old or something like that. We exchange relationships, we change partners, we change careers, we change jobs, we change clothing. We change our diet sometimes, and all of these things. We try to learn the meaning of love through the ego's reference point, which is impossible. We need a teacher that's outside the world, that is not part of the ego's mistaken frame of reference. We need a teacher from outside the problem. Enter the Holy Spirit, who is our inner teacher, this part of our mind that can take a look at all of our drama, all of our separation, and simply look past it, not believe it, and show us instead our reality, the truth of who we are. Point us to that. This is part of our mind. It is not outside you. It's an inner teacher, which is why I call the Holy Spirit our inner teacher. Now, you may call this whatever you like. The love of the Holy Spirit is our strength. And our teacher will show us what to do in all circumstances, what to say and to whom, where to go, if anywhere. All of that, if only we allow him to do so. It's setting a major ego defense aside in saying, look, of myself, I can do nothing. Does that sound familiar? Should. This is what we mean by that. We've tried to set up our own learning temples, our own learning environments all over the place, and we're still in the same place of suffering because that doesn't work. The Holy Spirit's plan will work. So we're invited to appeal to this. Our inner teacher is fully capable of helping us look past our limited resources. So we're invited to appeal to our inner teacher for guidance. This is what we do as a practical matter. Now, does this seem hard? Well, we could make it seem hard. It is not hard, but you could, if you so choose, make this impossible for yourself. That is your choice. You do not have to choose to make it impossible. It may be that you don't want to hear that today. You'll hear it again. And if you tune into this video series, you'll certainly hear it from me. And if you don't ever again, you'll hear it from someone else. And you just heard it and listened to it. You don't have to choose littleness. You do not have to choose limitations. We don't have to do that. And you're invited not to. The Holy Spirit will help us to recognize something very important, our invulnerability. You heard that right. Invulnerability. Remember, this frail organism is not you. Who and what you are cannot be harmed. It cannot be defeated. And why would that be? There is no separate other to defeat anyone. There is no opponent. In perfect oneness, which is the truth of what is, we have no opponents. There is no separation of any kind. How can you then be taken down? You cannot. Love is a complete abstraction. It's also what is. So let's learn under the guidance of our inner teacher to generalize, to apply our forgiveness generally and broadly, which accelerates the process. Just a thought, food for thought and for further practice, yeah. You're not small, you're not little, you're not limited to the frailties of this thing. You are not. And you do not have to believe that you are. If you choose to, great. That is your choice. Remember, we have the power of choice here in this world where choice is meaningful. Ultimately, there's nothing to choose. God is. There's only perfect oneness in truth. Here, where choice appears meaningful, we're invited to choose the Holy Spirit. We're invited to choose love. And the next moment, the next time you become aware of this choice, you're invited to exercise it again, gladly, gladly. If you do it often enough, it becomes automatic. Then what happens is everything that you see and experience appears to look really, really fundamentally different. Some of you have experienced these things. We all, from time to time, may experience glimpses. We may well. And we, from time to time, will have, and when, we don't really know, but there will come a time where you have a moment, call it an aha moment, or just a thought or an intuitive hit, or something will happen that really helps you to get it, that will really help you to understand these lessons. And the more that you put them into practice, this course is learned by doing. The more you put these ideas into practice, the more your experience will show you, demonstrate to you, prove to you that these ideas are true. Truth is true. That sounds obvious, doesn't it? That's why it's truth, after all. So, if you're just joining us, welcome. And again, if you've watched many, many of these videos, there are close to 1,000 of these. And there will continue to be many, many, many more because we offer these several times a week. This is good because spirituality is not limited. Our practice should not be limited to one session a week. And these videos are intended as a supplement for your own practice. In no way, shape, or form should they ever be construed to serve as a replacement for anything, especially your own practice of true forgiveness of the Son of God, the world, the ego, space, time, and every single thing generalized. Remember, these are designed as a supplement and as a learning aid. So, along those lines, should you have questions, please feel welcome to ask them. If you are new and you are wondering if you're having one of those moments that we talked about at the outset of thinking, God, this is really complex. What the actual hell is this even saying? This is weird. So if you're having one of those moments, understand that the basic questions are the ones that we all should be asking, even if you've been doing this for 20 or 30 years. There is no such thing on the spiritual path as a question that's too basic, too beginner-ish. That is not a thing. These are the questions that we should be asking because even if you're an experienced student, it might be today, 30 years down the line from when you first heard the idea or formulated a question, that someone asks, you get an answer, and it is the day the light goes on. So if you are new, please ask away. If you are an experienced student, please ask away. We've had a number of excellent questions right here on YouTube in the discussion thread. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so. I invite you to join us here. This is the prompt in the corner of your screen. Click or hover over that arrow and you'll be invited to subscribe and join us. So please do that. We have a growing international community. And again, there are several of these videos that appear each week. We're going through the text of A Course in Miracles. And in every conversation, there will be something said that you're meant to hear, and only you will know what that is. I never know when this camera and microphone get turned on, what exactly is going to come up that impacts you. But it's something, especially because you're watching here at the end. So I thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all again very soon.